For many years, the world's leading military nations have been striving to create powerful fifth-generation fighter jet fleets, but they have not yet achieved their goals. The US was the first to make a fifth-generation fighter, the F-22 Raptor, which has stealth features. It also made the F-35 Lightning II Joint Strike Fighter after that. Russia and China have their own jets, the Su-57 and J-20. The F-22 is not being made anymore, and the three latest jets, which are considered to be fifth-gen jets, even though they may not have all the required characteristics, are all facing difficulties. Some of the features that an aircraft must have to be a fifth-generation fighter are stealth abilities to avoid being detected and the capacity to fly faster than the speed of sound without using extra fuel, among others.
Su-57 Russia.
Russia's first try at a fifth-generation fighter aircraft is the Sukhoi Su-57, but some experts doubt if it really meets the standards for this category because of its weaknesses in several important areas. The Su-57, which NATO calls the Felon, was given to the Russian military in 2020. Moscow is said to have only 10 of these jets, but state media says this number will go up to 22 by 2024 and then to 76 by 2028. However, it is not clear if those plans will happen. The Su-57 had its first combat experience in Syria in 2018. Last year, Russian officials said that the jet had also fought in Ukraine, which is supported by intelligence from Britain's defense ministry. But there is not much proof of the Su-57 being used widely in the ongoing war. One reason for the low involvement in the kind of war that fifth-generation jets were made for could be that the Russian jet does not have the stealth features that would let it work as a real fifth-generation fighter. Problems with the jet include Moscow's seeming difficulty to equip it with engines that can hide it from radar and body panels that are close enough to reduce its radar signal. In the end, Russia's unwillingness to use its Su-57s in Ukraine shows that they are not sure about the jet's stealth abilities. The jet can only carry an old version of the R-77 air-to-air missile. This has folding grid fins that make it impossible to carry it inside the jet and hence affect its stealth signature.
J-20 China.
China, which is seen as the main rival for the US military, also has a fifth-generation fighter program. The Chengdu J-20, which made its first flight in 2011, entered service in 2017. It became part of Beijing's fleet of 1,900 fighter jets and has been deployed operationally, according to a 2023 Pentagon report on the country's military power. It is estimated that China has made more than 200 J-20s and is working on several improvements for the fighter, one of them being the installation of locally made WS-15 engines. The WS-15 is the engine that the J-20 was supposed to have from the start because it would let the fighter fly faster than the speed of sound without using extra fuel and give the aircraft more stealth features. But the Chinese defense industry has faced many difficulties to produce the advanced engine, so the military has used older Chinese engines and Russian ones instead. The J-20 engines have been a big problem, but I think they show bigger challenges within the Chinese defense industry. Despite all of China's technological advances, they still fall behind the West in high-end manufacturing skills, whether it is engines, stealth materials, or metalwork. After earlier failures, the J-20 seemed to fly with two WS-15 engines this past summer in a significant moment. But even if China has solved its manufacturing issues, the reliability of the WS-15 engines is still doubtful and could create troubles, especially if it is not made to the same standards as Western aircraft. Throughout the engine's life, they will have to do maintenance on their engines more often and will likely have to change the engines more often. Those maintenance issues will eventually affect the readiness of the aircraft and the availability of the aircraft. Like the Russians, China is still fairly new to the fifth-generation fighter game. But even the US, which has had a fifth-gen jet since 2005, is having challenges with its new Joint Strike Fighter.
F-35, USA.
The F-35 is the second fifth-generation fighter in America's arsenal after the F-22 Raptor, and it has three versions. It was made by defense company Lockheed Martin. The F-35B can take off and land in short distances, and it was the first to be ready for use by the U.S. Marine Corps in 2015. The F-35A is used by the U.S. Air Force, and it was ready for use in 2016. The F-35C is used by the U.S. Navy, and it was ready for use in 2019. The aircraft, which was designed for ground attacks, air-to-air combat, and connected air power, has flown in Europe and the Pacific and has some combat experience in the Middle East. The fifth-gen plane is used by both the U.S. military and some of its allies. Israel was the first country to use the jet in combat. The U.S. military has about 450 F-35s, and the Pentagon plans to buy about 2,500 more in the next few decades. The estimated life cycle cost is more than $1.7 trillion, most of which will go to operating and fixing the aircraft. This very costly program has had many problems with maintenance and sustainability that have often affected the fighter jet's readiness, and that is still the case, according to a September report by the Government Accountability Office, or GAO. Earlier this year, for example, the aircraft was able to fly missions only a little over half the time. The report pointed out several specific problems at military bases, such as a lack of support equipment, spare parts, proper training, and technical data, all of which can cause maintenance delays. The report also said that the F-35 program was late in setting up facilities to do repairs, and that the U.S. government has depended a lot on contractors, which reduces its own power to make decisions. The main focus was on research, development, and buying, while keeping and paying for the aircraft was a later concern. These problems are now affecting the program. The F-35, when it was becoming available for use by the services, did not have the repair facilities ready to fix the aircraft when it was needed. Even now, the program is still behind in finishing the repair facilities. This means that when big parts of the aircraft need to be fixed or changed, they often need to go back to the original equipment makers. That makes a lot of delays. And because it takes more time to fix those parts, the backlog gets bigger, and the aircraft becomes less able to fly across the whole fleet. It is very important for the U.S. to control the F-35 program. When it is flying, pilots are very pleased with the abilities of that weapon system. It is not only the future of combat aviation for 3 military services, it is the present.